No, I wouldn't say it's not fun, but it's different. It's very interesting to me. You know, when I was on the road and I was doing it every day, it was something I did every day. I'm not the same person. I'm not that guy anymore in a lot of ways. And so for me to paint my face, it makes me think of things that that I don't think about all the time, and maybe, and I have a hard time pushing out of my mind while I'm painting my face. You know, at a time when I did the gimmick and I was up and down the road, through painting my face and putting the gimmick on, I became a character. And that character just operated in a whole different way. I don't operate my life in that way. I'm still very intense in my life. I have an intense personality, and a lot of the qualities that the Ultimate Warrior have are still apply to my everyday life. But painting my face, it's a kind of a weird thing. Yes, it's weird. But it was fun. Shooting the commercial was an absolute blast. It had really great people on it. That's a good question too, because a lot of people talk about that. They talk about, would the Ultimate Warrior character fit into today's business? When I developed the Ultimate Warrior character and kept evolving the character, I knew there was no question that it would work because it was working. So in today's business, if I would just plop down in today's business, I don't know that my creative mind would even go there to think about a character like that. If you're talking about, if you just took Ultimate Warrior as a character already developed and set him down in today's business, I think Warrior would work better. Simply because the business is different. Back in the day when they shot television, the superstar characters wrestled against unknown guys for 2 or 3 minutes, and then you went to the house shows and pay-per-views and everything else to see the matches between the superstars. Business is different today. It's more about storytelling. Somebody there, I would think anyway, has much more knowledge than I do to understand that that's what the audience wants. That's what the ticket buyer wants from the business today, to do more of the storytelling stuff. And they've done some great storytelling where that doesn't so much, it may end up being a match, a wrestling thing in the ring, but it doesn't have to be that every time they get in the ring. It could be something else. You know, it's animosity, beefs, attitudes, stuff like that between people. So I don't know. I mean, if I was young again and I wanted to be a professional wrestler, first thing I'd do is I'd get jacked all to hell is what I'd do. I'd go in and I'd be jacked. Maybe take a breath and count to 10 more often.
That's all.
That just in certain situations. Just realize that sometimes people you think know more than you do don't. And you need to maybe give them a break on that, and together you can learn something new out of it, you know, instead of just drawing a line that that makes it hard, you know, to do that, to work things out. No. The first time I watched wrestling with my daughters, Indy and Maddie, was on the 20th anniversary of Hulk and Mize match, WrestleMania 6. We do a movie night thing every weekend. That week we watched that. The next year we watched the Macho Man match. That's it. I mean, of course, they know their dad did the Ultimate Warrior. A lot of their friends, their parents, they're huge Ultimate Warrior fans. And they do the licensing and stuff, and they understand it. Their last name is Warrior. That's their real last name. It's on their birth certificate, and it means something. And they're, you know, they're at that age where they're learning more about what that means to me to have taken that name and what kind of lessons I learned in my career. So, but no, they're not interested in that. In fact, as I tell people, for many years, they wouldn't let Barbie, they're big Barbie fans, of course, they wouldn't let Barbie get anywhere near the Ultimate Warrior action figures because they would say to me, you know, Daddy, Barbie wouldn't go out with a guy like that. Barbie wouldn't be seen with a guy like that. So, So there's an interesting story for you. Yeah. I mean, I always enjoyed the challenge of it. The business at that time was very challenging. Just being able to survive on the road and keep my gimmick and sleep 2 or 3 hours a night for long periods of time, not have access to food like people do today, sit in your room, eat tuna fish out of the can, get on the floor, do 500 sit-ups every night before you go to bed, even if you know you're getting up in 2 or 3 hours. The run, the pace of the road, the things that were demanded of you. The television days back then were just unbelievable. You know, the promos that they used to cut for each individual town, they'd set up these soundproof rooms in the bottom of the buildings, and you'd be in there for hours just sweating gallons and gallons, and then go and, you know, at midnight go to the ring for the last match of the night, and when you come back from the ring, nobody's there anymore. No, that stuff I loved. The limelight, the celebrity, which Vince would always ask me every time I went back, or he would find me to ask me, he said, don't you miss that stuff? I never missed that stuff. It never mattered to me. The rougher it was, the more hardcore it was, more difficult it was, the more I enjoyed it. And the business was a job. You know, I've answered the question in many different ways. Yes, it was a job, but my job was to be the most of what an Ultimate Warrior was in wrestling. That. And, but the work of the business, the drama, the bullshit, the politics that people talk about today, I never liked that. That's why I have a reputation as being a loner. I never hung out with the other guys. I didn't want to play the mind games. The only mind game I played was with myself and being the best that I could be. And the politics that people talk about today, I don't know jack about politics. I went right to Vince. I kept a notebook, and every time I saw him, I went to him, and I said, Vince, I got a list of things here that you can do for me so I can do better for you. And that was before I even got on TV. And when I finally got my push and got put out on the road, Vince he knew he didn't have to think about me. He knew at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning when the guys might be getting in trouble in the bars, he knew I was at some fucking gym paying a gym owner to keep his gym open. And I love that, man. There's nothing like that. There wasn't anything like, but all the other stuff and all the stories that have been made up, all the other guys, I got along with everybody beautifully at the time. I thought. It was only later that it became cool to bash me or my career or what Ultimate Warrior was in the business. And I think that's unfortunate. And, but I don't miss any of that. I think it's important that when you do something like what I did and you can't do that anymore, or the opportunity's not there anymore, it's time to move on and step up to the next level in your life and be something else as a man. And so when people don't do that, other guys that I've known for years, when they don't do that, I don't want to be around that. I'm not inspired by that. It doesn't. So, yeah, there's a lot that I miss about the business, but there's a lot that I never wanted anything to do with at all. It's improved from this standpoint. We aren't fighting anymore. That's it. Nothing else. We're not fighting anymore, and I like that. And all those years of fighting taught me some things. I think it taught everybody some things. It taught me a lot of things that are valuable to my life now. And I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't done all that fighting. It took me out of the business, but I wouldn't be who I am. And yeah, well, Triple H, he's made an incredible career for himself, hasn't he? Probably from the 5 minutes he spent with me and I was an asshole to him. That's what I think.
I love that match personally.
He learns more from that than anything else. Yeah, my friend were Owen, and there's another guy in the business, Jimmy Powers. He was one of my buddies, and I hung out with those guys. I hung out a lot with the ring crew guys. I got along better with them than I did the other guys, the other talent. You know, the guys that show up early in the morning and set the ring up and stay there all day and then take the ring down and then drive 5 and 6 hours that night to get to the next show. I had more respect for those guys than I did some of the superstars. And so, yeah, Owen was a really good friend of mine, man. He was an awesome guy.